I see the attorney on, I see the manager, I see 3 members. All right, perfect. Hi, Chief. Hi, everybody. Okay. So yes, thank you all for making this special council meeting. Full moon, you guys are good to go? Yes, they are. Okay, perfect. All right, perfect. Thank you. So I would like to call our special council meeting. Thank you for being here on time. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, and it is 6:33 p.m. If I can please have a moment of silent meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call?
Roll call, Mayor Cubillos.
Here.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Present.
He's here. Councilperson Urban.
Oh, sorry.
Norby. Councilperson Perella.
Yes. Hi. Here.
I don't see Councilperson Roman. Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christia Liu, Village Manager, Interim Village Attorney Norman Powell, and Chief Magnuson. You have a quorum.
All right, great. Thank you. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda for these two one ordinance?
I've got to read the virtual meeting advisor into the
Okay,
record.
I was gonna have you do it, not a problem. If I can please have the attorney read it into the record.
Right, it'll take a few minutes as usual.
Thank you. Thank you.
On March 20th, 2020, Governor Ron DeSantis issued executive order number 20-69 relating to local government public meetings. The governor's executive order suspends current laws that require a quorum be present in person and that a local government body meet in a specific place. It authorizes local governmental bodies to use communication media technology such as telephonic and video conferencing as provided in section 120.54, subsection B2 of the Florida statutes. Further, chapter 28-109 entitled Conducting Proceedings by Communications Media Technology of the Florida Administrative Code provides guidance for the procedures to be followed to conduct a proceeding by means of communications media technology or to provide access to a proceeding by use of a CMT. The governor's order does not waive any other requirement under the Florida Constitution and Florida's government and the Sunshine Laws. The village is using Zoom to hold this virtual council meeting. The Zoom platform does not require the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to watch this meeting. Zoom is a cloud-based platform for video and audio conferencing, collaboration, chat, and webinars across mobile devices, desktops, telephones, and room systems. Public comment will occur as they always do at the council and committee meetings, during good and welfare, and after each agenda item prior to voting. When the mayor opens the meeting for public comment, anyone wishing to participate will have 3 minutes to speak. A resident will be recognized to speak in the Zoom application. If you're recognized and you're using a mobile device, click the raise hand on the bottom of the screen. If you're using your computer or your personal computer, click on the icon participants on the bottom of your screen. You will see the option to raise your hand. There are 2 ways to view the meeting on your screen: gallery view and speaker view. Gallery view allows you to view almost all participants at the same time on your screen. In the speaker view, whoever is speaking will be viewed front and center, while other participants will be on the top in smaller squares. Please make sure to mute microphones when not speaking. If possible, use headphones to mitigate sound feedback. When addressing the village council, please first state your name and then your home address. All comments submitted will become a part of the public record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the village council prior to taking any action. Everyone participating in this virtual meeting is required to maintain decorum. There's no clapping, applauding, heckling, or verbal outbursts in support or opposition to a speaker or his or her remarks, and those remarks shall not be permitted. No signs or placards shall be allowed. No person other than the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion either directly or through a member of the council without permission of the mayor. No questions shall be asked of the council member except through the mayor. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who shall become boisterous, rowdy, disruptive, or make personal comments while addressing the council shall be barred from further participation in this virtual meeting by the mayor. If at any time during the virtual public meeting, the ability of the public to listen or participate is interrupted due to a technical problem, the meeting shall immediately pause during such time and resume when the technical problem is corrected. The village has published an agenda as well as included in the notice to the public pursuant to our village code and the items and topics that will be discussed at this virtual meeting. Mayor and council members, are you comfortable with the notice and provisions set forth as these uniform rules or procedures we have discussed for this virtual meeting?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. May I please now have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda, Madam Mayor.
Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I would second, but I don't have a copy of the agenda for this exact meeting.
My apologies. Does anybody else on the member of the council have a copy of the agenda? If not, Yanis, can you please put it, share the screen?
I'll second.
I'll take the second, but for purposes of voting approval, let's share the screen for the entire council.
I'm sharing the screen. Mine's not sharing.
No, I think that was the attorney. Did you just do that, Norman?
But I also tried to share it and mine didn't let me share it.
Norman, you're on mute. Huh. So for the, before I ask for a vote to the attorney, can you just give a brief overview as to why we're going through this ordinance so I can go ask for roll call?
Right. The ordinance that's before you is to set the qualifying deadlines, but it's also doing a couple other things. It's amending the village's code to be consistent with the Florida statutes. The fees for qualifying were incorrect or are incorrect currently in the code. So what this ordinance does is two things. It corrects and brings into line the fees into the code, and it also sets the qualifying deadlines, which is required to be done by ordinance. So because we only have the 28th meeting coming up, we're calling the special meeting for the first reading, and then we'll have the second reading on the 28th.
And for some reason, we in the past, the council, we've done this before, but when we did the ordinance, we did it with specific dates. And that wouldn't make sense because the dates are going to change every 2 years when the elections would change because the calendars are not the same. So
Right, so
this
essentially,
standardizes it.
so essentially, we're gonna have to basically do that every time the dates change. There's gonna have to be an ordinance per the statute.
And then so in 2 years or 4 years, when El Portal has another election, every 2 years, will it be through resolution of the ordinance?
Ordinance, that's the
Ordinance.
ordinance.
All right. Any other questions before I ask for roll call or approval of the agenda? I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Nickerson and a second by Councilperson Roman. All right, hearing none, do I have to have a motion to approve the agenda? Do I have excuse me, all in favor, say yay.
Aye. Yeah.
Yes.
Any nays? All right, hearing none, our special council meeting passes on today, Tuesday, July 21st. We're going to move right into the first agenda item, which again is E1, Ordinance 2020-14. Again, if I can please have the attorney read it into the record, and then I'll ask for a motion in a second and any discussion from other the council, and then I'll open up briefly to the public.
An ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of El Portal, Florida, amending Section 6-4, qualification of candidates, form petition of Code of Ordinances relating to the qualifying periods, providing for severability, repeal of all ordinances and resolutions in conflict, codification, and an effective date.
Okay, great. Thank you, Norman. And again, real briefly, before I ask for a motion in a second, just want to kind of reiterate the point we're here at, Norman,
Okay.
for the council and the public.
Right. By Florida statutes, in order to set the election date and qualifying periods, it's required to be done by ordinance, which requires 2 readings. This ordinance is doing that. It's setting the election date, which is going to be November 3rd. It's setting the qualifying period, which will be, it's on page 2. The qualifying period will start August 10th, 2020 and run through noon, August 14th, 2020. It's also correcting or updating the current provisions of the code in Section 2 here in the ordinance to make it consistent with the Florida statutes. The applicable filing fee for a candidate is comprised of 2 components. There is a filing fee, which is 3% of the salary of the office sought, and then there's a 1% fee, which is an election assessment that has to be paid. In the old or in the current ordinance, the percentages are incorrect, so this updates and amends it to make it consistent with the Florida statute. I also amended the form petition in the same way. At the bottom of the form, if you'll see under where it says village use only, to make it consistent with the Florida statutes, it references the applicable section and breaks down what the filing fee is comprised of, which is the, again, the assessment and also the election assessment and also the statutory filing fee. So that's what this is doing. But again, because it requires 2 readings, we're gonna have the first today and the second and final reading will be on the 28th.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there a motion to accept ordinance 2020, I believe it's 14, correct? Yes, 2020-14.
Make a motion to accept the ordinance, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. There's a motion by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is there a second?
The point of order, are we going to be discussing this at all?
Yes, right afterwards, yes.
Okay, sorry, forgive me.
It's okay, so I just need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, perfect. So it's been seconded by Councilperson Erbram. Any discussion? Now we can, now there is a motion on the table. Can we have it, any discussion? This is the time to ask any questions with regards to getting a better understanding as to what we're doing. And I believe I have Councilperson Erbram who has his hand raised. Go ahead, you have the table.
Okay. How did this come to our attention that this needed to be changed? Because did we not essentially pass a standard ordinance already regarding the date of the election?
Yes, well, there was two things. One, I discussed with the clerk. We had miscommunicated, frankly, when she had sent me an email that there was a provision in our code that needed to be updated. I did not understand at the time, or understood at the time, that she was referring to the actual percentages for the actual filing fee. So when we passed this the last time, it didn't include the update to our code to make it consistent with the actual percentages outlined in the Florida statute.
And then as far as the dates?
Right, the dates are consistent with what we received from the supervisor of election. We have to have everything done by no later than August 14th. And the qualifying dates that are in here will allow us to meet the supervisor of elections qualifying period, drop dead qualifying period deadline.
So are we saying that if we did not make this adjustment, what would the penalty be as we get to November 3rd? What are the consequences for not having this aligned?
That's a good question. I don't know that there'd be any consequences or any penalty unless somebody wanted to challenge the results of an election. So to the extent that there was an election and we didn't actually update the ordinance consistent with the filing fee and assessments that are currently in the Florida statutes, if somebody ran and lost, they would have standing to challenge the results. So, I mean, I think that'd be the worst case scenario, that there'd be an elections challenge.
Okay, because we're going from a window of, 9 days of registering to 4 days, or 5 days, I guess. So is that standard for this is coming from the state or the county? Who are we aligning with exactly?
Okay, we're doing two things. We're aligning the fees that we're charging people who want to run for the particular office with the Florida statute. That's the state requirement.
Okay.
The latter part, in terms of aligning with the qualifying period to meet, that's local, because the supervisor of election, communicates with our clerk saying, look, you got to have everything to me by, or to us by no later than this particular date. So once she gets that date, and she can explain better, but I'm assuming what she does is look at what the drop dead date is for the clerk, for the supervisor of election, and works backwards from that date in order to see to give people enough time to qualify during that period.
And if I can just add to what you're saying, so also the changing that needed to happen as far as the updating the code, we've been needing to do that, and prior attorney and the clerk would tell you we've talked about it, it was just never done. Even though every 2 years we were doing the ordinance with the change of dates. But what prompted all of this was when I saw the qualifying period, I was also surprised it was 1 week. And that's when I called immediately and I sent an email to the clerk and I said, hey, where is this coming from? And then when we all did our history, and I said, we need to really update the ordinance because the filing fee has been wrong for so long. This is a good time to get it done anyway. But then the explanation that she gave me, and again, she can reiterate it, was because that comes from the county, it didn't come from the state. And based on the time that we passed the resolution and the dates and when they needed it, of when elections are going to be, those are the dates that were given to us. But in the time that I've been here, and the 12 elections I've gone through, it's always been the last 2 weeks in April. So this is kind of a first for us to be 1 week, but again, she can better explain it than I can because she was one that spoke to them. I didn't.
Yeah.
I guess, Madam Clerk, is there anything you wanted to add then?
No, yeah. What ends up happening that since we piggyback on their election and we don't have our own, we are subject to their dates, and they give us certain dates in order, like a timeline. This is the timeline that you have. You have to have these documentations for me at this point. So we're usually relying on whatever they have. We have to ask for permission for everything. If we were to have our own election, it would be anything between 20 grand to 25,000. because I did ask, that's one of the questions I did ask. And I said, well, what about if we had our own election? Since we are dependent on them, and especially with what's going on right now, they give you certain deadlines that it is. And this was something that was spoken about before, because I had brought it to the attention where we have meetings between clerks where I was reading that it was at 1% and we had it at 1.5, which that is a state law, and we were not in the rights with that. It didn't match, because I always look at our charter and I saw that it didn't match, and I'm like, and I started asking questions, and that was one of the things that came about. So yes,
Okay.
And then the mayor just told me about that. But I think the last election we had was also a week.
Right. I think that is, I remember that being correct. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
The last special election, not the regular election.
No, the regular election as well.
The regular election was 1 week?
Yeah.
And back in
It was the
2018?
It was the same thing. It was also a week, which I don't know if it gives you enough time, but we're regulated by what they want. I mean, you would have to move it more forward, but you have to have certain documentations to them. There's deadlines. So certain documentations. One of the things is that I think we only charge like $1. And that's something that I had spoken about for people to run here. Most places have like 50, 100 up. We charge $1. But that's outdated too. So I don't know who regulates that. So, I mean, that's not something that, but those are things that I just looked at. And I was like, okay, $1. So it gets confusing. And then, of course, another thing that may need to be changed also is the income. That's something else that has to be looked at. The income of that you guys get. That has to be changed too.
What exactly needs to be changed?
It needs to be changed, the income amount. I think the amount that you guys are getting paid now, I'm not too sure. I have to look back, is 3,000. So the percentage is not right.
Yeah,
There's an ordinance that needs to be done also in that effect.
But the percentage, sorry, forgive me, Mr. Attorney, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so that's why I struck out the definition of the salary. I just left it as the percentage of the annual salary of the office sought. Because
another thing, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Another thing I had suggested was that I think we spoke about was, instead of having it with dates, you should have it with days. Meaning like the second week in August from here to here, or second or third week, because you're always going to run into the whole thing where it's not always going to be the same dates.
Yeah.
It was just a suggestion. I don't.
Exactly. The 10th for the following year could be on a Saturday or on a Sunday, and then it doesn't count as a business day. Yeah.
And just to complete the conversation, we had discussed actually just doing that, but the way the statute is written, and I also sought a second opinion to make sure my reading was clear. Every time you call the election, you have to do it by ordinance. So regardless of whether we said the last 2 weeks in August or the first 2 weeks in August, you still have to do an ordinance. So it makes it better in that regard, because as Mr. Kobe just stated, she's never going to know from year to year when the clerk's going to come back and say, I need it on the 23rd, the 22nd, or the 24th. So we're still going to have to do an ordinance. So that's why I just simply put the dates in that we know for certain this year, because we're going to have to do it again in a couple of years all over again, per statute.
Any other questions from any of the members of the council? I don't see any hands. Nope. All right, seeing none, let me see if there's anybody in the audience. Nope, no hands up. Okay. If there are no other questions and you all feel comfortable, might go ahead and get a roll call of this, please.
Roll call. Councilperson Perella.
Yes.
Councilperson Erbaum.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And just for confirmation and on the record, when is the second reading, Yanis? You're on mute.
Sorry, I think it's August 2nd, which is that first Tuesday in August. You have to call another special council meeting for that. You don't have enough time for the July.
All right, August 2nd?
Yeah.
All right. Just make sure we let the entire members of the council know. August 2nd, 6:30, most likely be our next special council meeting to do, to have a second reading on this. Okay, with that said, thanks, Norman. You can retract from sharing the screen. Appreciate that. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Having done that, now we have anybody good in welfare would like to say anything? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn the special council meeting?
Motion to adjourn the special council meeting, Madam Mayor.
Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilperson Urban. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 Any nays? All righty, our special council meeting concludes at 6:58 p.m. You all have a good admin and finance committee. I'll see you at the budget workshop.
Madam Clerk, just let me know when full moon